I'm pretty sure you've reached peak bike reviewing level once you're reviewing this bike, the MV Agusta Brutale 800 RR SCS edition. Alright, so first let's start off with the basics. This is by far the most expensive, most premium, and the fastest bike I have ever reviewed. But before we get to the best part on how fast this bike really is, let's first talk about its striking appearance and what makes it so good that it can warrant the 1.2 million price tag. So right off the bat, just with this sporty looking key with a metal etched MV Agusta logo, you can tell that this bike is really fast. I mean, it's not even moving and it looks really quick already. This updated model comes in 3 different colors, so we have this black and gray combination. You also have the dark red and black color. And of course, my personal favorite, the red and silver combination. And if I had 1.2 million pesos, I would definitely go with either of those 2 red colors. Just by looking at it, you can tell that this bike is fast, like really fast. And I know I've said this before on the KTM Duke 790 because they kinda look similar on paper. The KTM Duke has a 799cc parallel twin, while the MV Agusta Brutale has a 798cc triple cylinder. But obviously, none of that matters, and you'll find out later towards the end of this video which one is faster, the KTM Duke or the MV Agusta Brutale. But before we get to the performance, let's first talk about its striking appearance. MV Agusta is an Italian brand that was established in the 1900s. And they have this really unique and distinct styling. I honestly think this bike belongs to a museum, like all their other bikes. My favorite part is the single swing arm and the triple exhaust that looks like an art piece. I mean, it doesn't sound the best or even the loudest, given that it's a Euro bike. Personally, I wouldn't want to replace this with any other aftermarket muffler aside from the ones that MV Agusta is offering that is specific to this bike. And then moving on towards the center, we have a trellis frame, kinda like the KTM's, which is also one of the reasons why this bike is so light. Pair that with this fully plastic tank. And yes, it's fully plastic, both inside and out, hence the reason why this bike is not that top heavy. Plus the fact that this tank will never get hot, even under a sunny day. One downside though, since this is plastic, and plastic expands so you can't really instantly fill this tank to the brim after long hours of driving or baking under the sun, to prevent any sudden pressurization when you open the tank, so you have to keep that in mind. Moving here to the back, I'm pretty sure you guys seen it already. There's a pass-through here that looks really cool. It kind of looks like it's floating, and it really gives that clean aesthetic vibe to it. And of course, a full LED system, LED taillights, LED headlights, LED signals, and LED cornering lights. And of course, the creme de la creme, the glass enclosed clutch system. So whenever the bike is moving, this will keep spinning. It's like the center of attraction. People always tend to look at this, obviously because of all the mechanical moving parts. So this is kind of like a conversation starter by itself. I'll talk about it later again towards the end of this video on how the clutch system works, or the SCS Smart Clutch System. I just noticed this, guys. This is the name of the guy who hand-built this engine. It says here, Silvio Zanon. Moving back to the rear, we have 17-inch Diablo Rosso Pirelli tires, paired with this 6-spoke turbine-style alloy mags. I like how this bike's swing arm is on the left side, so it gives all the emphasis on this triple exhaust and this floating seat. Up front, we have dual disc brakes and a Brembo brake system, same with the rear. And it's also matched with a pair of Marzocchi forks. So this one is manually adjustable, just like the one in the rear. So if you want to customize your ride even more, you can definitely do that with this bike as well. Styling-wise, everything is very aggressive. I'm a really big fan of this air vents here that I think completes the bike's look. It gives it that aerodynamic, sporty design without being too bold, but at the same time, looking exactly like what an MV Agusta should. As for riding dynamics, it looks aggressive, but I actually think it's fairly comfortable. I'm 5'7.5" and the seat is set at 530 millimeters, but they can lower it down for you a bit at Motostrada if you really want to. But personally, at my height, I think the seat is just nice. Driver-centric control-wise, everything here looks pretty standard yet premium. So you have your controls here for left and right function. You also have your low and high beams and your hazard switch here up front. You also have your auto-canceling left and right signals here with a horn. And on the right side, we have cruise control, launch control, and the emergency stop, start, and mode are all cleverly combined into this one button. Seat-wise, it's wide enough and it feels premium. Nothing special, but also nothing to complain about. Here at the center of the handlebars, we have a steering damper. So this is adjustable up to 15 clicks. Twist it to the left to make it softer, or twist it to the right to make it stiffer. Okay, so now let's talk about this new 5.5-inch TFT display that the old Brutale didn't have. And aside from its minimalist look, this display offers a lot of customizable features. If you toggle to the left, you have your navigation, which is synced to your phone. So you can download the MV Agusta Ride app and you can customize everything there. It opens a whole world of customizations, so it's easier to set settings there, it's easier to customize driving modes, and every time you boot up the bike, it will just automatically pair. And a really nice touch they added is that you can see your social media messages here, but you can also disable that if you really don't want it. It's just an overall better experience out there. Okay, so going back, we have your ABS functions. You also have your front lift control. It's kind of similar to the KTM Duke 790's anti-wheelie control, but with this one, the FLC won't stop the wheel from lifting. It will just limit how high it can go. It won't totally eliminate wheelies, but it will definitely control it at a more manageable level. So sports mode is like its normal mode. There's nothing lower than this. But the other modes are rain, race, and custom mode, which you can toggle or customize through the app. Moving on to the left again, you have your traction control. So you can set this 0 for the least intervention and up to 6 for the maximum intervention. And last but not the least is the lean angles. In here, you can easily tell how much the bike is leaning to the left and how much the bike is leaning uphill or downhill. Other than that, you have your standard kilometers, your trip 1, trip 2, your running time, your clock. You also have your outside temperature here. And sadly enough, you don't have a fuel sensor or a fuel gauge. So the empty or the blinking gas icon will show up if you're nearing empty and it's time to gas up. But if I'm not wrong, I think it can still go up to 50 kilometers depending on how you ride it. So I highly suggest you top up once you see that gas icon show up. Alright, so now let's talk about the SCS or the Smart Clutch System. To keep it short, this bike is kind of like an automatic. So technically, you don't really need to use the lever that much anymore. And I'll show you why. So first, let's start off the bike. Alright, so right now the bike is in neutral and I'll try to switch it to first gear without pulling on the clutch lever. The engine didn't stall, it's still running, and it didn't even jerk. And once I twist the throttle, this bike will move forward without pulling the clutch lever. And you can do this from first up to third gear without even touching the clutch lever, and the bike will never stall even when stopped. And it's also perfect for stop and go traffic because you'll never have to use the clutch lever. Okay, so I know some of you might think it's a gimmick, but to be fair, it does kind of feel weird at first, but you'll eventually get used to it. And I think once you start using it, you wouldn't want to go back riding other typical bikes anymore. Personally, I've already gotten used to it. I use it almost every single time, although sometimes I still unknowingly pull the clutch lever. Obviously, I still need more time to get used to this system, but overall, it's a really nice experience. You can ride away most of the time without even using this, but other than that, it has quick shift. It also has auto blip, so shifting up gears and shifting low gears is all clutchless. So yeah, I guess it's safe to say that this bike can almost get away without using the clutch lever, which is a good thing because this lever is really stiff. Also, there's a unique feature here that's called the park brake assist. So this is like a parking brake for the cars. You know those emergency park brakes that you pull up as a safety feature so the bike doesn't roll? This is exactly it. Since this bike's SCS or Smart Clutch System can't be turned off, tendency is when this bike is parked, even on first gear, this bike will roll. So to prevent that, they installed this dedicated parking brake. So whenever you're parking on a decline or incline, you can just engage this and it will stop the bike from rolling forwards and backwards. Or whenever you're on a traffic stop, so you don't actually send the bike flying whenever you rev the engine or whenever you have that habit of rev bombing the bike. I know the SCS system kind of sounds daunting and complicated, but in reality, it's actually pretty simple. You'll eventually get used to it, and I'm pretty sure you'll keep looking for it whenever you switch bikes. Given a choice, I would want that feature on my personal bike. But yeah, I kind of think it's ironic because this bike is perfect for traffic because of its clutch system, but it's also perfect for highways because this bike is a beast. It's probably the fastest and the most premium bike I've ever used, but it's also the most friendly. You can literally treat this as a beginner-friendly bike simply because of its SCS alone. But then again, that's only if you have lots of money to spare because this is not a cheap bike to run, nor is it cheap to replace or fix whenever you drop it. So yeah, while the SCS kinda makes this bike ride safer and easier, you'd still need a lot of saddle time to maneuver and control this bike, especially when you hit the sweet spot of 6,000 to 10,000 RPM. This bike literally rips, like it's faster than the KTM Duke 790. It's surprisingly gentle at launch, but once it hits that sweet spot, it will leave some later bikes that I've tried, partially because of its lightweight naked build, but also because of its triple cylinder engine that the Italians over-engineered. I mean, that's just how this bike works. It hates to run slow and it begs to run really fast. At the end of the day, performance-wise, this Brutale is unlike any other. Once you've ridden it, I'm pretty sure you will never forget about it, regardless of its SCS. It's definitely the fastest and most beautiful bike I've ever borrowed. So special thanks to Motostrada for trusting me with this bike. From the day that I borrowed this, I've been all smiles whenever I'm riding this. It doesn't matter if it's on traffic or in the highways. This bike is really fun. It will most likely be one of the top favorite bikes that I've ever ridden. I mean, look at it. Just by sitting here, it looks like an art piece that belongs to a museum because it looks really good in person. Everything's well thought up, everything's proportioned. And to those of you who say that money can't buy happiness, I'm pretty sure you guys haven't tried the MV Agusta Brutale 800RR. But yeah, so I think that's pretty much it. If I can afford this bike, I would definitely get it. If I had 1.3 million pesos, I would buy this in a heartbeat. So be sure to hit the like and subscribe button. And maybe someday, a few years from now, I'll be able to own an MV Agusta like the Brutale 800RR.